A family in Arizona paid $800,000 for a desert home. 3 months later, the tap ran dry. Not a broken pipe, not a billing issue. The water was simply gone, and nobody who sold them that house was legally required to tell them it could happen. Arizona sold the dream better than almost anyone. Cheap land, no state income tax, year-round sun, affordable mansions that would cost 3 times as much in California. Millions bought in, and for a while, it worked. Then the Colorado River started dying. Here is what the brochures never mentioned. Arizona's entire growth story, every master-planned community, every sprawling suburb, every luxury desert estate, was built on water that was already running out before the first foundation was poured. The state has been issuing certificates of assured water supply for decades, many of them backed by groundwater that is being pumped out 4 times faster than it can be replenished. And now the bill is coming due. We drove across 10 Arizona cities where the water crisis is not a future threat. It is already destroying property values, freezing construction, forcing foreclosures, and leaving families in homes they cannot sell, cannot afford to maintain, and in some cases, cannot even get running water into. The city at number 1 just got a water solution in January 2026, and the property damage is still not reversible. That is how bad this got. Number 10, Buckeye. Pull up Buckeye on a map and you will see one of the fastest growing cities in America. Pull up the Arizona Department of Water Resources report from 2023, and you will see something else. A projected groundwater shortfall of 4 million acre-feet over the next 100 years in the basin this city depends on. State officials did not wait. They halted new housing developments relying solely on groundwater. Builders with finished homes and no buyers started panicking. Active inventory surged 42% year over year, according to Redfin. Nearly 30% of all listings have cut their asking prices. Median days on market stretched to 65 days, in a market that was moving in under 2 weeks just 2 years ago. The worst part, municipal water rates are climbing to cover the cost of sourcing water from further and further away. The house got cheaper, the cost of living in it got more expensive. And here is what comes next on this list, because Buckeye's crisis is actually one of the more manageable ones. Number 9, Florence. Southeast of Phoenix, deep in Pinal County, Florence tried to reinvent itself from an agricultural and prison town into a suburban bedroom community. The problem? It sits on aquifers being pulled from 2 directions simultaneously. Residential demand from new developments, and agricultural operations fighting to survive cuts to Colorado River allocations. According to the Central Arizona Project, agricultural water deliveries to this region have been cut by 65%. Those farms did not stop needing water. They went deeper into the same underground supply that 40,000 residents depend on. Zillow data shows home values have dropped 11% since last spring. Unsold home supply has ballooned 55% year over year. Nearly 40% of renters are spending more than a third of their income on housing and utilities combined, and that is before water rates jumped another 15%. But what is happening further into the valley makes Florence look stable. Number 8, Maricopa. To understand Maricopa, you need to understand its geography. It is physically cut off from the Phoenix metro by 2 Native American reservations. There is one main road in, one road out. During the pandemic boom, people did not care. They were getting 3,000 square feet for $350,000. Then the Arizona Department of Water Resources released a groundwater model showing a projected deficit of over 8 million acre-feet for this specific basin. The market froze instantly. According to Redfin, 48% of active listings have had price reductions. Foreclosure starts ticked up 22% in 12 months, according to Adam Data Solutions. The median sale price has dropped 13% from peak. And the commute. The U.S. Census Bureau reports average round-trip commute times exceeding 80 minutes for residents working in the city. Buyers are running the numbers. High mortgage, rising utilities, 80-minute commute, shrinking aquifer, and they are walking away. Number 7, Casa Grande. Halfway between Phoenix and Tucson, Casa Grande tried to become an industrial and residential hub simultaneously. Massive factories moved in. Sprawling neighborhoods went up around them. Nobody asked who was going to share the water. The U.S. Geological Survey has been monitoring this basin, reporting alarming drops of several feet per year in localized monitoring wells. New single-family home construction authorizations have plunged 35% in 2 years, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Active inventory has skyrocketed 60%, per Realtor.com. Eviction filing rates have climbed 18% in the past year as inflation and utility costs outpace wages. The median listing price has dropped 9% year over year. In Casa Grande, the American dream and the water table are both running out at the same time. Number 6. Coolidge. Coolidge is where you can see the future of Arizona's housing crisis most clearly, because part of it already happened. Developers had grand plans. Cotton fields were going to become master-planned communities. Roads were paved, fire hydrants were installed, and then state regulators blocked everything. No proven 100-year water supply, no building permits. You can drive through Coolidge today and see miles of paved roads leading to absolutely nothing. Infrastructure built for a neighborhood that will never exist. Closed home sales have crashed 41% year over year. Median home values are down 12%. More than a third of active listings have been sitting unsold for over 90 days. And water and sewer bills have jumped 20% in 2 years because someone has to pay for the infrastructure that was already built. Number 5. Goodyear. Goodyear is where the water crisis gets genuinely absurd. This wealthy suburb, famous for spring training baseball and luxury mountain views, is also home to some of the largest data centers in Arizona. And a single large data center can consume millions of gallons of water per day just for cooling. Residents are being told to rip out their grass and take shorter showers. The data centers are not being told anything. Median home sale prices have dropped 7% year over year, wiping out roughly $35,000 in equity for the average homeowner. Active inventory is up 45%. Homeowner association fees in master-planned communities have spiked 12 to 15% to cover the rising cost of maintaining landscaping with expensive municipal water. Rental rates have dropped 5%, leaving investors bleeding every month. The people who moved here for peaceful suburban living are sandwiched between thirsty tech facilities and a market that is cooling fast. Number 4. Queen Creek. Queen Creek is the city that proved the water crisis does not spare the wealthy. This was a high-end suburb. Custom homes on acre lots, horses, resort pools. Then the local government admitted it was running dry and orchestrated an expensive emergency deal to purchase Colorado River water rights from a farming community hundreds of miles away. That cost did not disappear. It transferred directly to property taxes and municipal fees. Homes priced over $800,000 have seen values drop 14%, according to Zillow. An astonishing 52% of listings have experienced a price reduction per Redfin. Average days on market jumped from 15 days during the pandemic to over 80 days now. Buyers are looking at the projected future utility rates and walking away from million-dollar properties. Even the money could not outrun the desert math. Number 3. Kingman. Kingman sits in the rural Northwest, far from the Phoenix metro. People moved here to be left alone. And they were, until corporate agricultural operations arrived, drilled deep wells, and began pumping 24 hours a day. Arizona has some of the weakest groundwater protection laws in rural areas of any Western state. These operations were entirely legal, and the result was catastrophic for ordinary homeowners. According to the Arizona Department of Water Resources, groundwater levels in this basin have dropped by hundreds of feet in some areas. When a domestic well runs dry, drilling a new deeper one costs $30,000 to $50,000, a price most working-class residents simply cannot pay. Homes with older shallow wells are sitting on the market indefinitely. Investor purchases have dropped 60% year over year per Redfin. Because smart money knows a house without water is worthless, poverty rates in this region remain stubbornly high, meaning residents have no safety net when the wells fail. What comes next is where it gets truly structural. Number 2. Santan Valley. Santan Valley is one of the most populated, unincorporated areas in the entire country. No traditional city government. No coordinated infrastructure planning. Just decades of unchecked suburban sprawl, serviced by private utility companies with no public accountability. EPCOR, the primary water provider, filed requests to raise residential rates by a steep percentage, sending shockwaves through a community already stretched thin by high mortgage rates. According to Redfin, median sale prices have crashed 15% from peak. Foreclosure rates are climbing faster than the state average. Active housing inventory has surged 70% year over year. Median rents have dropped 6%, squeezing the investors who bought expecting passive income. This is what happens when a community of hundreds of thousands of people is built without a plan, and then handed to a private utility monopoly to figure out. The water got expensive, the houses lost value, and the people in the middle have nowhere to go. Number 1. Rio Verde Foothills. On January 1st, 2023, the taps went off. Scottsdale cut water deliveries to Rio Verde Foothills, an unincorporated community of 1,400 homes northeast of Scottsdale, because the drought had forced the city to prioritize its own residents. Overnight, families in million-dollar desert homes were paying $1,000 to $2,000 per month for water hauled in by truck. One resident described it as camping in your home, doing laundry at his parents' house, running the dishwasher once a week, using paper plates, watching his water tank drain with no certain refill date. Property values collapsed. Some homes became nearly impossible to sell, without all cash offers from buyers willing to confront the water situation directly. The 61% crash in lot and property values in the most affected areas was not a market correction. It was a market erasure. On January 1st, 2026, a new EPCOR water station opened. 3 years after the crisis began, residents now pay 16 cents per gallon, plus a $75 monthly fee, putting average water costs at $130 a month. The crisis is technically resolved. The financial damage is not. Homes that lost 40 to 60% of their value during the crisis have not recovered. Buyers still demand massive discounts because the water agreement is complex, expensive, and tied to a private utility with no regulatory ceiling on future rate increases. Rio Verde Foothills is the clearest possible warning about what Arizona's water crisis actually looks like when it arrives, not as a slow decline, but as an overnight emergency with a bill that arrives every month and never stops. 10 cities, 1 crisis, and the same lesson in every single one of them. Arizona's housing market was built on water that was already disappearing before the first house went up. The state issued the permits, the developers built the neighborhoods, the agents sold the dream, and the buyers signed the mortgages without knowing they were also signing on to a water liability that no insurance policy covers. The Colorado River is on life support. Arizona loses 2 million acre-feet of water annually from the Colorado River alone. Groundwater basins across the state are being depleted faster than they can recharge. And the legislation that was supposed to close the loopholes, House Bill 2445, which passed the Arizona House to eliminate the wildcat lot exemption that allowed developers to sell land without a guaranteed water supply, is still working through a system that moves slower than the aquifers are draining. If you are buying in Arizona in 2026, the question is not whether the house is in a good school district or close to a highway. The question is, where does the water come from? How much will it cost in 5 years? And what happens to your equity if the answer changes? The desert does not negotiate. And right now, the math is not working. If this investigation gave you something real, subscribe to State Shift. New deep dive every week. Drop a comment below. Are you in one of these markets? Did your agent ever mention the water risk before you signed?